Good evening and welcome to the Metro News on RayPower 100.5 FM. I am Idimachi Ikechukwu. Nigeria's fight against hunger received a major boost today as wife of the president, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, launched the National Community Food Bank program, pledging $500,000 from her office to kickstart the initiative. The launch also drew commitments from the private sector, state governments, and other partners, bringing total pledges to over 60 billion naira. The unveiling held at the State House Banquet Hall in Abuja also featured the inauguration of the program's Board of Trustees, marking a decisive step to tackle child malnutrition across the country. Addressing stakeholders, the First Lady warned that millions of Nigerian children remain at risk due to poor access to nutritious food, stressing that urgent action is needed to secure the nation's future. She explained that the initiative targets vulnerable children under the age of 6, providing consistent access to healthy meals while strengthening community-based nutrition systems nationwide. And to political matters, amid the ongoing deepening crisis following the Independent National Electoral Commission's suspension of recognition of David Mark's leadership, the African Democratic Congress (ADC) declared that it is determined to proceed with all its plans for the forthcoming nationwide congresses and national convention scheduled on April 14th. In a statement by the National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi, who emphasized that the party had fulfilled all procedural requirements by notifying INEC 21 days in advance of its planned activities. Abdullahi revealed that the commission had acknowledged receipt of the 21 days notice, but the party will not be deterred by INEC's current stance even if the electoral body fails to monitor all the exercises. INEC made its position known yesterday due to an internal dispute currently before the courts. Meanwhile, a federal high court in Abuja has refused an application by some leaders of the African Democratic Congress seeking to bar Senator Ireti Kingibe from participating in the party's activities over her alleged suspension. Justice Peter Lifu instead directed the ward leaders to notify the senator and bring her before the court to respond to the issues raised against her. In a brief ruling, the court held that discretion in granting such a request, particularly in political matters, must be exercised judicially and with caution. The judge stated that justice can only be achieved when the defendant is given the opportunity to be heard alongside the plaintiffs on the merits of the case. He consequently ordered that all court processes be served on Kingibe to enable her to become aware of the suit and prepare her defense. The matter was adjourned to April 20th, 2026 for both the plaintiffs, who are members of the Wuse ward in the Federal Capital Territory, and the senator to appear before the court. In another development, a federal high court in Abuja has dismissed a fundamental rights enforcement suit filed by online publisher Omoyele Sowore against the State Security Services, SSS, its Director General, and Meta Platforms Incorporated, formerly Facebook. Delivering judgment, Justice Mohammed Umar resolved all three issues identified for determination against Sowore and held that the case lacked merit. Sowore had challenged the removal of a Facebook post he made on August 26, 2025, in which he described President Bola Tinubu as a criminal, as well as the deactivation of his account. He alleged that Meta acted on the directive of the SSS and its Director General, thereby violating his rights to fair hearing, freedom of expression, and association. On the issue of fair hearing, the court held that Showore's claim was misplaced, noting that the right applies only to proceedings before a court or tribunal established by law. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has arrested a TikTok user, Udoma David Eke, over the alleged spread of false information about the commission and its officers. The suspects reportedly claimed in December 2025 that operatives from the Ilorin Zonal Directorate of the EFCC were kidnapped by bandits while on official duty in Kwara State. He further alleged that a large ransom was demanded for their release. However, the commission has dismissed the claims as entirely fabricated, accusing the suspect of using social media to misinform the public and undermine its ongoing efforts to combat internet fraud. Preliminary investigations also indicate that AK may be involved in a romance scam, allegedly using a Facebook account to impersonate a foreign individual identified as Garg Carter. The EFCC says the suspect will be charged to court in due course. And to Niger State, the National Emergency Management Agency and other stakeholders in disaster management in the state have pledged to strengthen coordination mechanisms, improve preparedness, and upgrade early warning systems as part of measures to mitigate disasters in 2026. The resolution was reached at the end of a stakeholders meeting organized by the NEMA MENA Operations Office to review 2025 disaster management activities, which witnessed over 3,000 deaths, and strategies for 2026.
In 2025, over 30,000 persons lost their lives to different disaster-related occurrences, ranging from the January 18 deadly Deco tanker explosion to the dynamite explosion at Mashegu, the May 29 devastating flash flood in Mokwa, to the different boat mishaps, among others. Though all the agencies responsible for tackling the emergencies responded, but not in collaboration, rather individually, to ensure that the casualty figures reduced drastically and ensure synergy in operations. The head of operations, MENA Operations Office of NEMA, Hussein Isa, organized a one-day meeting themed Building Synergy for Effective Emergency Response, a multi-agency review of Niger State 2025 disaster management activities and strategic preparedness for 2026.
And when something happens, some of those things we identify as a big gap or challenges is a conflict of interest. We see somebody will just respond, and those individual agencies are not prepared. And then duplication of activities and waste of resources, we want to avoid those things.
Other stakeholders at the meeting pledged to right the wrongs going forward.
We need to together design a roadmap we can have it better and easy. Renew our partnership. We responded to events of disaster management.
At the end of the meeting, all the stakeholders agreed to work together to achieve a common result. Zachary Omala reporting for RayPower News, MENA.
You're still listening to Metro News on RayPower 100.5 FM. We'll bring you more stories after the break.
As the news drops, it breaks with us. Join us for news on the hour every hour. News desk at 12 noon, Metro News at 4 p.m. Enjoy infotainment, breaking and sports news at their best 24/7.
This is RayPower FM News.
Thanks for staying with us. And now on the African scene, a new report says more than 1,800 civilians have been killed in Burkina Faso since Ibrahim Traoré seized power 3 years ago in acts amounting to war crimes and crimes against humanity. Human Rights Watch says about 1,837 civilians, including dozens of children, were killed in 57 incidents between January 2023 and August 2025. It attributes most of the killings, 1,255, to the military and allied militia, with the rest blamed on Islamist militants. Human Rights Watch finds President Traoré and 6 senior military commanders may be liable as a matter of command responsibility for grave abuses and should be investigated. It also says 5 jihadist leaders may be culpable. And still on the foreign scene, the United States has lifted sanctions on Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez. The move comes less than 3 months after U.S. forces seized the country's previous leader, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife in a military raid in Caracas and took them to New York to face drug trafficking charges. Rodriguez, a close ally of Maduro who served as his vice president, has been placed on the sanctions list in 2018, with the US accusing her of undermining democracy. She was sworn in as interim president by Venezuela's National Assembly, which is dominated by Maduro loyalists, days after the US raid, and has been described by Trump as a terrific person.
And now, a business update from RayPower 100 FM.
The World Bank has approved a $500 million loan, International Development Association credit, to boost Nigeria's agricultural sector under a new program targeting smallholder farmers, value chains, and food security. The funding will support the Nigeria Sustainable Agricultural Value Chains for Growth project, also known as AGRO, which aims to improve productivity, strengthen market linkages, and create jobs across the country. Still in business, Nigeria's oil reserves recorded a marginal decline in 2026, while gas resources expanded, reflecting a gradual shift in the country's hydrocarbon profile amid sustained production and discoveries. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission disclosed this in Abuja, releasing the nation's official petroleum reserves position as of January 1st, 2026. In a statement signed by its chief executive, Orishemeyiwa Egeshon, the commission said Nigeria's total oil and condensate reserves stood at 37.01 billion barrels, while total gas reserves rose to 215.19 trillion cubic feet.
This is entertainment news on RayPower 100.5 FM.
An Afrobeat singer, Thames, has shared her thoughts on marriage, emphasizing it should be about growth and accountability rather than just emotions. In an interview, she stressed the importance of having a God-fearing partner, believing it ensures accountability and long-term commitment. According to her, marriage is a journey that refines individuals, focusing on compatibility and personal growth over fleeting feelings. An Afrobeat singer, Omale, has described himself as the best artist of his generation, asserting his dominance in music making. Speaking on a recent podcast, the singer said only Burna Boy comes close to matching his artistry. Omale noted that while his visuals may not always stand out, his strength lies in his creative depth and musical expression.
RayPower Sport.
The first open sale of tickets for the 2026 World Cup showed FIFA is charging up to $10,990 to be at the final. It is thought to be the most expensive ever general admission to a football match. In its World Cup bid book, the US, Canada, and Mexico said tickets to the final would cost a maximum of $1,550. The head of Italy's Football Federation resigned today, falling on his sword after the men's national team failed to qualify for a third consecutive World Cup. Gabriel Gravina revealed he would step down as the country's top football official following a meeting held at the FIGC's headquarters in Rome today. Italy fell at the playoffs again on Tuesday, this time after a penalty shootout against Bosnia and Herzegovina, and will miss this summer's finals in the United States, Canada, and Mexico.
RayPower weather.
Thunderstorms with moderate rains are expected across most parts of the central region, particularly in the Federal Capital Territory, Plateau, Nasarawa, and Benue states. To end the Metro News, here is our last line. According to an African proverb, the day the monkey is destined to die, all the trees get slippery. And that's it for the Metro News as produced by Ehi and Kelly Ocheme. I am Idimachi Ikechukwu. You can listen to us online on Radio Garden, Online Radio Box, and tuning.com at RayPower 100.5 FM Abuja. And also join us at 6 p.m. for our next bulletin, Nigeria Today, as we bring you news from across the nation. Good evening.